Welcome to the Boxing Source Midweek Report, where we tackle the latest topics in the sport of boxing here up to this point every single Wednesday. Time to start the show. Checking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Support for everyone here that's tuning in live for this edition of the Midweek Report. I'm still, recovering from being out there in New York City for the press conference there for Ring Six, or at least the headlining bout for Ring 6. It's going to be taking place January 31st at Madison Square Garden. The main event is going to have the WBO and Ring Magazine super lightweight title on the line as Teofimo Lopez takes on Shakur Stevenson. Y'all know I pretty much say the whole name on that one, right? And this is going to be a really interesting bout there at super lightweight. Of course, you have Shakur Stevenson. That is the WBC lightweight champion, going up in weight to face Teofimo Lopez, who has been the number one rated super lightweight. Okay. Now I know that some people are saying that, hey, I mean, and I kind of like said this too in reference to Teofimo Lopez, that he hasn't done much to try to unify 140 pounds. He's pretty much like gone from having his wins over at 135 pounds against Vasyl Lomachenko and just moving forward from that, and then at 140 pounds having his win over Josh Taylor and just moving on from that, not really, getting in the mix with the world champions there at 140 pounds, whether it was going to be like a Subriel Matias or Richardson Hitchins or, Alberto Puello, Gary Antoine Russell, or, whatever is going on with, the other world title out there. You know what I mean? So it's kind of, been a mix there when it comes to that, right? But now you're going to have Teofimo Lopez against Shakur Stevenson, two fighters that are at or around the pound for pound rankings, depending on who you check out, whether it's the Boxing Source or any of these other media outlets out there for boxing. But it should be a good matchup nonetheless. And I had been out there, like I said, out there for the press conference and things like that. So I wanted to kind of like talk about that because I had a little bit of yeah, I would say I have a few issues of sorts then when it comes to the press conference, right? Because you are out there to push the fight and promote the fight and everything like that, okay? And then you have Teofimo Lopez that sometimes is known for being outlandish or being over the top of sorts when it comes to press conferences. But this one here, this just was like at some questionable level. He was having some plausible moments up in that particular press conference and saying some mad questionable stuff where I was just this close to throwing a flag, bro, because that some of the stuff he was talking about, unbelievable, crazy, so to speak, when it comes to talking towards Shakur Stevenson or something like that. But you also had a back and forth between Shakur Stevenson and Teofimo Lopez Sr. I'm gonna see if I could pull that up here. While we trying to talk about this thing here with the press conference, because there were a couple of moments there in the press conference, but there were also some moments there that took place after the press conference. And that's the thing about it. So I gotta see how I'm gonna go ahead and pull this up. I'm gonna cue this up here for y'all. And then after that, what I got is some stuff that hold on, y'all. Hold on. Because we're gonna go over some of the comments there that took place during the press conference here. So I wanted to get that on this thing here right now. But real quick, shout out to everyone here that's checking this out live, and if you're catching the replay, we also appreciate that here. So let me see here if I could go ahead and try to pull some of this stuff up. You know what I mean? So you had like something there where you had the thing for Shakur Stevenson and Teofimo Lopez. You know what I'm saying? So you did have that, And you also had something where uh like Teofimo Lopez was talking about, oh, he could do this, he could do that, and he, is gonna, be a guy there at 140 pounds that, says like, okay, I've been here at 140 for, a good little minute. You're just coming up from 135. And I'm like, well, yeah, but Shakur Stevenson has been able to, move up and then, be successful on, multiple weight classes. You know what I mean? So that was the thing about it. So I'm gonna see here if I could go ahead and pull this up. This is, kind of like some of the moments there that happened, during the press conference here. So I'm gonna see if I could have this thing queued up, and then we'll be able to check it out here while we go through most of the stuff that did happen there during the press conference. So we're trying to have this all pulled up here for you, and for everyone. So hold on just a second. We'll be able to get this going here. All right. Let's see. I'm gonna load that part up and then get that right there. All right, bet. So here it is. All right, so yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and have this thing here for the back and forth that happened between Teofimo Lopez Sr. and Shakur Stevenson. So, like, I'm gonna run this thing here real quick, and let's do it.
We want a competitive fight. I mean, we do this as parents, ever since my son started this, I told him, this is entertainment business, and we here to entertain the crowd. And I think Shakur is gonna bring it, so hopefully it's gonna be a great fight. I want everybody to come and see it. If you can, just watch it on TV.
You guys have come up with some good game plans over the years. You've beat some great fighters, Lomachenko, Taylor, among them. How difficult is this match for Stevenson to prepare for?
Well, I see their weakness. That's what I do. We broke the code with Loma that nobody had ever done. We didn't let him get comfortable in there. You saw that, with like 8 bounces, you know what to do. I did the same thing with Josh Taylor. We're gonna do the same thing with you.
All right. We'll start with the fighters now. We'll start over here to my left. Shakur Stevenson, you're nodding your head as you listen to Teofimo Sr. Any reaction to what he just said?
Fighters. I think that it's great games against them guys. I've seen a lot of weaknesses in his game too. Something he said earlier, he said, Tio never lost to softball. Well, I never lost to Orthodox. It ain't no different, bro.
The difference is you never fought no elite fighter.
Okay, I don't think y'all did.
Oh, so you gotta show it, baby.
I don't think y'all did. I ain't
It's not on my son.
I ain't seen Lomachenko throw no punches.
You've never been on a big stage like that.
I didn't see Lomachenko throw punches.
You've never been on a big stage like
I
that.
didn't see Lomachenko.
Now I had to pause that there real quick. Hopefully y'all are able to hear me. But him like you already see there from Teofimo Lopez Sr. He's like, hey, you ain't been in a big stage like this, stuff like that. Well, I mean, I thought we'd seen Shakur Stevenson have like bouts against have big bouts there. You had the thing there that happened with the Ring Magazine fight against William Zepeda, right? You had the unification bout in Las Vegas against Oscar Valdez. So you've seen Shakur Stevenson in a couple of moments where he's been part of a big fight, headlined a big event, or been part of fights that had like a lot on the line. Are they to the level of Teofimo Lopez versus Vasily Lomachenko? Probably not. But remember that fight happened, while you had the whole little lockdown thing. So there wasn't really a crowd behind that. So we don't know like how much interest overall people would have had in that particular fight if people were able to attend that. Then you had the whole thing with Teofimo Lopez and Josh Taylor. Now, I mean, I can't necessarily think of what the attendance was for that particular fight, but I mean, you go to like some of these other fights that Teofimo Lopez has been involved with, and you could see that there hasn't necessarily been that much people attending those fights. So it's not like that Teofimo Lopez is like a superstar of any sort, but he's had a couple of these fights where you kind of seen him as it was saying, therefore, for this press conference and after the press conference, which I'll get into later, that he's been able to fight up to his competition or something like that. So that's something that we're gonna have to see here against Shakur Stevenson. You know what I mean? So that being said, let me go ahead and continue this video here where they go back and forth.
Because we froze rounds. Okay, you must. We're gonna freeze you too.
You better not throw the towel on.
Come on, man. You out of your mind.
Okay?
Myself fought without no air. Myself fought without no air against the bosses. You can't fight without the bones. You can't fight. Don't tell me, man.
Hey, real quick though, real quick. Hey, that part right there had me. Teofimo Lopez Sr. said, "Hey, my son fought with no air. He fought with no air against George Kambosos." Like, hey, listen. I know there was a lot that was behind the fight between Teofimo Lopez and George Kambosos Jr., particularly the multiple times that the fight was delayed after the whole thing with the purse bid and the reschedules and all that type of stuff, and stuff that was going on behind the scenes personally with Teofimo Lopez. But for Teofimo Lopez Sr. to say that Lopez Jr. there fought with no air. That's some crazy work though. I'll tell you that right now. That's some crazy work. But let's go ahead and continue with this.
You can't fight for your son. I bet you go.
Sure, we've heard Steve say a couple of times to bring up this data, maybe kind of hoping that fight, that's not. I think they're trying to get you out of the game.
I will be 100 times better fighting against Teofimo Lopez than I was against Baker. 1,000 times better. Faster, sharper, stronger, mentally more point. Can't wait.
You said a couple of times now, you see holes in today's game. I know you don't want to give me a game plan, kick off press conference, but where are the weaknesses? Where are some of the weaknesses in this game?
A lot of the weaknesses is in mental. I'm going to expose it.
You said in your last fight that you proved you were a dog against Williams and Baker. What do you want to prove in this one?
I'm the best. I'm sure the work, but I'm the best. That's why I'm going to consider top 5 pound fighter in the sport.
Said this week that.
Now, I mean, you hear Shakur Stevenson talking about that fight against Williams Zepeda and things like that, and I feel like that was like his best performance that he's had in his career so far. I mean, if you were there live at the Louis Armstrong Stadium there in Queens, New York, you seen the performance that he had, particularly in those first 5 or 6 rounds. He was just at a whole different class than Williams Zepeda. And at the time, live, I thought after those 6 or so rounds, I felt like Shakur Stevenson was going to stop Williams Zepeda. But we didn't necessarily have that happen. He kind of like put his foot off the gas, so to speak, in those last few rounds or something like that, and was able to get a wide decision there, 10-2 type of a fight, which is something I kind of like predicted. I thought that he was going to be Williams Zepeda 10 rounds to 2, regardless, because I just didn't really think that Zepeda was going to be able to keep up with someone like Shakur Stevenson. Now you're going to have Stevenson here going up against Teofimo Lopez, a fighter that, outside of those fights against, Vasily Lomachenko and Josh Taylor, he hasn't fought someone that's, been at a very high level. Yes, he did suffer the loss to George Kambosos Jr., but as many times as, I kind of like sit on here and in other, avenues, we don't really put like George Kambosos in a high regard like that. We just don't. Okay. So now we got to see, where Teofimo Lopez is at this particular point of his career. Of course, given off of his performance that he had against Arnold Barbosa Jr. in May. Now, he was able to do a good job there against Arnold Barbosa Jr. and get a clean decision win on that one. But, now we got to see how he's going to deal with someone like a Shakur Stevenson, who is, kind of highly considered as one of the top pound-for-pound fighters there, or at least in the top 10 in the pound-for-pound rankings. You know what I mean? I wanted to see if I could try to pull up them joints. You know what I mean? Because for the boxing source pound for pound rankings, of course, right? We currently have Shakur Stevenson at number 8 in the pound for pound rankings, and we have Teofimo Lopez there at number 13 at this particular point. So you're gonna have two guys there within that boxing source pound for pound 16 that are going to be going up against each other. You're gonna have Shakur Stevenson here vying for a world title at 140 pounds. He's the WBO champion at 126. He was a WBO and WBC champion at 130 pounds. He was a WBC champion at 135 pounds. Now he's going after the WBO and Ring Magazine titles at 140 pounds. You do have Teofimo Lopez currently rated at number 1 at 140, given his, of course, win over Josh Taylor. You know what I mean? And all the stuff that's been happening at 140, the multiple world title changes, the IBF title changing hands, the WBA title changing hands multiple times. You've seen the WBC title change hands, so Teofimo has been the one fighter that's, kept his title in his, over the time that he's had the belt since he's defeated Josh Taylor. All right. So you do have to give him credit for that. But now, we're going to see here how he does against someone like a Shakur Stevenson that has been able to prove himself at, times at 126, 130, and 135, right? So, all right, let's see, about continuing here on this clip.
You were in for a rude awakening and you get to 140. What do you think he's in for when he goes up against you?
I think he just don't realize how good I am. Come fight night, he's gonna realize that I'm gonna take it to another level, and he has never seen before. So if he's expecting a Lomachenko or Josh to fight to happen, it won't be that tough fight.
Teofimo, start with first. I've noticed you're doing a lot of reading, a lot of writing there. This press release going on, but you've been kind of jotting down for the last few months.
Yo, what's up, everybody? How y'all doing?
Good. Here's to your boy.
Yo, for real, y'all not excited? Yo, production, can y'all put the echo down a little bit? But listen, I'm excited. Yeah, I'm just, just doing some self-work. That's all it is. But nevertheless, man, shout out to the Knicks. NBA semi-finals, so they have matches. Let's go next.
What is he doing?
Excited for that.
See, here goes the crazy
man,
stuff.
y'all not excited, man. This is two of the guys that they see the best of the best. Bottom lacing up. Yeah, in beautiful Madison Square Garden, the mecca of boxing, January 31st. This man, I'm grateful, thankful, blessed. And we're gonna have Shakur Hitchins. Jiggle my balls.
Oh, see, here we go. Come on, man. Yo, dog. No.
This is
Yo,
insane.
see, you already heard me right there, bro. Like, come on, yo. See, this was the start of this crazy stuff here from Teofimo Lopez, bro. Like, no, we got yeah. Unfortunately, I'm gonna go back. Let's run it.
Jiggle my balls.
This is insane, bro. This is wild work.
You could have gone a few different directions to your next fight. You've done a unification at 140. You're talking in the past about moving up in weight. Why was this the right fight for you?
Got a ball joke. All right.
Come on, man.
All right, man.
I mean, come on now, like, he's saying this, he's saying that, and the third, but in reality, man, this guy is the best. We're here to face the best. That's what it is. We have the best. That's all it is, man. That's what it takes. We define the odds. We're against all odds. And to DraftKings and to all the betting odds out there, make sure you keep the odds as highly favored as you will. I got a lot of people that's starving. and they need to make their money. So
All right, there you go, man. There y'all go. Yo, all right. So that was a whole joint there. You know what I'm saying? With Teofimo Lopez and Shakur Stevenson, right? And yo, a number of folks are kind of like excited about the fight. The tickets are on sale. They had the pre-sale, during the time for the press conference, and now they got this stuff going on right now. I'm seeing that there's pretty good prices. There's one section there in 112 that they got all the tickets sold out for section 112. I know that like there's some folks that hit me up that said that we're considering getting out there for the fight, getting about a couple tickets there. So that's the thing on what's happening right now. So I'm gonna see here. I'll go ahead and give y'all the live look, or so to speak, or whatnot, of the joint there for the tickets that are available there on Ticketmaster right now. So I mean, you should be able to see the map on the screen here. You see there the section 200 seats are priced at around $128 initially. There they're probably going to add taxes, so it'll be like 135 to 140. But you kind of like see there, let me see, like section 223, you see there that's like 128, about 100 tickets or so. But I mean, that's the 100 plus tickets in comparison to like having what 300 or 400 seats within that particular section. So like if you go to some of these other prices here, like 63 tickets left here right in the center spot, section 107, 117, there's only like 30 tickets left right now. So I mean, it's kind of like moving, you know what I mean? I'm seeing that the tickets are moving here at this particular juncture. You can see here for like section 112, they ain't got any seats available for that. Ringside seats, are about, hey, you could pretty much be on the floor for around $400. So if you get you get there quick. So I mean that's some good movement here. For the first day, we got about a full like 6 or so weeks before the fight does take place there at Madison Square Garden. Salute to Marta Prince there in the building. What's going on with you? Like I said, I'm talking about this thing here with Shakur Stevenson and Teofimo Lopez. And you see there, as far as like the tickets, tickets have been on sale for only like a couple of days, right? So that's the thing that you got here so far, is that you got these sections that some of them close to the ring or around the ring or floor level, they're pretty much like done right now. But the other seats that are available, I mean, they got them pretty, the tickets are moving pretty well for that. So even without having the official announcements for other fights that could be taking place on this fight card, this is some good movement. This is some good movement as far as like tickets are concerned. There's supposedly going to be a WBC world title belt on this particular card here for January 31st. I've heard that there might be an interim title on the line on this particular card as well. I mean, so that's just two fights, right? Some people talk about the WBC middleweight title that's going to be on the line there, which is going to be interesting, because if it's the opponent that they're talking about for Carlos Adames, who is the WBC middleweight champion, and my question is, what happened to the mandatory? So we'll see, right? But they said they said maybe by tomorrow or Saturday, we're going to hear more about who is going to be included in that fight card. Okay, so this is what's going down there. Of course, January 31st, Madison Square Garden. Y'all see the thing there with the tickets on Ticketmaster and things like that. So it's going to be a very, very good event here for Ring 6. Of course, Ring 5 is over there in Saudi Arabia, and it's going to involve a number of fighters from Japan that will be part of that card, including Naoya Inoue and of course Junto Nakatani. They win their fights, then we're going to see them fight each other next year. That that kind of like says like 2026 for boxing. It's going to be really, really interesting, because you're going to have some great fights that could be on the horizon, but then you could also have a lot of stuff behind the scenes that could be shaking up boxing from that point forward. So we're going to see how that works out. But y'all see the thing there with the tickets and everything like that, at least so far here when it comes to the bout between Teofimo Lopez and Shakur Stevenson, man. I wanted to see here if I had like other other clips that I want to be able to pull up here. But I wanted to see about one other thing that did happen there at Madison Square Garden. Y'all know what I'm talking about. The whole thing between Keyshawn Davis and Richardson Hitchins. Okay. I was there, like I said, I was there live and everything like that. Okay. And you had the whole conversation, that was taking place between those two. Now I was out there, I was speaking with Eddie Hearn, and had a conversation there with Eddie Hearn. He was able to answer a lot of questions out there, right? But once that thing was like all done and stuff like that, then he kind of like seen what was going on between Richardson Hitchins and Keyshawn Davis. So we went over there, and hey, some of y'all may have seen it from there, but I pretty much like gone over there from the spot where I was at there with Eddie Hearn. So I'm going to see here if I could go ahead and pull that up. So we got to talk about this too, because this was absolutely some good stuff here. And many people said that this was a highlight of the press conference. All right, and I'm going to talk about why this was. All right, so let's go with it.
Win next year. You want to make
No, win next year.
It don't matter when I'm available. I gotta fight. I gotta fight.
Oh, no.
I'll say this.
Do you want to make it happen?
I'll say
Don't
this.
ask me. Do you want to make it happen?
January
There were talks about this fight for January 31st. This is a big
That's what I
fight,
was talking
big
about.
money fight that can stand on its own. But
Now that right there was a key joint. And shout out to the topic. He says, "Who do you think wins, Hitchins or Davis?" I'm going to provide my answer here later in a minute. And let's go through this whole conversation. But that was something there from Eddie Hearn. He said that this particular fight could have happened January 31st. And given, that Hitchins has been involved with Eddie Hearn and Matchroom Boxing, and if y'all seen this video or whatever it is, you see who also is there in Keith Connolly, who is the manager for Richardson Hitchins. So he could have potentially had this fight happen. This could have been the first fight for Keyshawn Davis at 140 pounds. But didn't necessarily, go in that direction. And, we might see some things happen behind the scenes to see if this fight happens or not. But I want to continue with this video, and I'll give you who I would kind of lead towards in this fight. Let's go.
That's respect.
Hitchins is looking a bit big. He looks. he might be too big for you at 140.
He want me to get all hype and be like,
You little bit. I'm not that no more. I ain't that no more.
I ain't that no more.
it's gonna sell itself.
He might be a bit big for you.
And he said, he said gonna come my hometown.
I said I'll come over there. 100%.
Because he know I'm gonna sell out. It's just gonna sell out. And celebrities and everybody gonna be there.
I'm
We'll
going
do it in
to
New York. We'll do it in New York.
You got a name, bro. But I sold
Oh,
out.
he said, you see the whole joint though, dog, right? He said all that stuff about, hey, he said he'll fight me in my hometown because he know it's gonna sell out. And he's like, because of me or whatever it is. But I don't know if y'all heard it, but Keith Connolly said something. Hey, that's your boy right there. Topic. It's Keith Connolly. If you see that, you see that I'm like, there where I'm at. But Keith Connolly is like right there next to me or something like that. You know what I'm saying? And watch what he says. Or listen to what he says though.
Out and celebrities and everybody gonna be there.
I'm
We'll
going
do
to
it in New York. We'll do it in New York.
You got a name,
You
bro.
see?
But I
He
sold
said,
out
hey, it's gonna be in New York. We'll do it in New York.
He came on fighting me. People thought he beat me. My fault.
He get that.
Nah, hold up.
It's your spit game.
Hold up. People thought he sold out when people thought he beat me. You gotta remember that, right? That's why.
So it's all because of you.
Of course, God, my name has to do. My name has a lot to do with it.
Bro, you know what's the Olympic?
Nobody ever knew.
I got you. Just, I went to the Olympics.
That shit
I
don't
traveled
mean
all
nothing.
the world.
That don't mean
No,
nothing.
listen. I came into the professional game with a fan base.
So why Andy Cruz ain't something else?
Who the
He
fuck
beat
is
you 3 times,
bro? That's Andy. That
So
ain't
why you
me.
bringing up the Olympics?
That ain't me. I'm talking about my fan base. Of
Why you
how
bringing
I
up the
sell.
Olympics?
How I sell. That's why.
Olympics don't
How I,
mean nothing.
Yeah,
how
I
I
don't know.
sell. I
Yeah,
came in
yeah,
here with a
I
fan
don't know why.
base.
I don't know why Richardson Hitchins brought up Andy Cruz because, I mean, yeah, you had the whole thing that happened in the Olympics with Andy Cruz, but Andy Cruz ain't the one, having his fights and people going to his fights like that. Nope, it's Keyshawn Davis. And we've seen what's happened with Keyshawn Davis and how he's had his fights over in Norfolk or, having what he had over at the theater at Madison Square Garden in February 14th of this year when he was able to win that WBO belt there at 135 pounds before, having what happened this summer and now him moving up to 140 pounds. But all right, let's continue with this though.
How does the fight play out?
I'm knocking him out.
You think so?
Imagine that. I was being you since you was a kid.
Whoa, I didn't know about this.
I told you this.
What happened? Does he
Yeah.
get sparring?
First time I sparred Keyshawn, I told Shakur, he's a little pup. We sparred and I beat him up in Mike Reed gym.
That's a true story.
Keyshawn.
Keyshawn, what was that?
Hold on. I might have to. I might have to replay that jerk there with Keyshawn there and Keith Conley because I don't know. Hey, I don't know if they were talking about what's going on there for real. But you kind of hear Richardson Hitchins talk about what happened like years ago between him and Keyshawn out in the gyms and that type of stuff or whatever it is. But yeah, let's continue.
And then after you came up and started beating me up, right? That's what you said to
Let me
ESPN.
tell you what is true though.
What?
When you started coming to Alexandria, started training with me and Shakur.
What happened?
You remember that?
What
Remember
happened?
how every time we used to spar?
Bro, I sparred you like
bro,
twice.
can I get my word
Go
out?
ahead.
Damn. Every time we used to spar, I used to talk friendly though. We was friends. I used to talk shit to him. Yeah, I'm gonna fuck you up today. We was friends. We was friendly talk. But I used to push up on you like that. And then when we used to spar, who would always be in your corner? Your best friend, Shakur. Africa, get on his ass. Get on. Don't worry about him talking to you. Why the fuck every time we spar, Shakur gotta hype you up, gang?
Yo, another question. Yo, why you said I was scared to spar you? If I'm sparring,
He ain't deny that shit though.
No,
one thing he denied though.
I'm letting you talk. I'm letting you talk.
But he been fucking me up in sparring though.
Deny what? You dumb. Keyshawn beating me up.
I never said I beat you up.
No, he said
I never said that.
He said no. This might.
I'm saying facts. He's saying some bullshit.
Him when I was sparring Shakur endless, and Shakur is better than him. So why the fuck would I have to? Shakur would have to hype me up to spar a guy he's better than him. I'm sparring Shakur endless round. That makes sense. So I was scared to spar. You was like hurting me or something.
I never said you was scared.
But you said Shakur had to amp me up. You said Shakur had to be like, yo, get in the ring with King.
Bro, I'm gonna say it again.
That's
The
what
only
you
thing
said.
I'm saying right now is facts.
But I'm saying, why did Shakur have to amp
You
me
gotta
to
go
spar you?
ask Shakur.
What was you doing to me? That made me so hesitant.
What the fuck was I doing to you?
I don't know. Come on,
Set this up. We gotta
Hey,
set up. At the end of the day, we gonna fight next year, right? March. He's the champ. He's the champ. So I'm gonna come after and get his motherfucking belt. Next year, y'all want me to come back?
Yes, we want you to come back.
I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna take your belt.
Now you see there they trying to push the thing for 2026 or whatever it is. Let's run it back.
But at the end of the day, we gonna fight next year, right? March. He's the champ. He's the champ. So I'm gonna come after and get his motherfucking belt. Next year, y'all want me to come back?
Yes, we want you to come back.
I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna take your belt because you know you're not better than me.
You're gonna get fucked up. And you can't take a punch. I promise you can't take a punch.
And I know somebody you really scared of.
Who?
In March.
You really scared of.
Who?
It don't matter. Hey, next year, 2026, I'm
Tell
fucking your
me.
boy up.
Hey,
And
we
we
know.
fighting
We wanna
Norfolk.
know.
Norfolk.
You
He
said you have-
said,
you have-
look, gang. He said, look, we fighting Norfolk.
I can't take a
We
punch.
fighting
You
Norfolk.
can't take a punch. I'm gonna smoke him.
Bro, Limos hurt you. Limos hurt you.
I'm
Limos hurt you.
Limos
hurt you. I never got hurt. I never got hurt. I never got hurt.
I ain't never been down or hurt in my life.
You've been hurt. You've been down. You've been down in sparring. You've been down in sparring. That nigga, look, he did. He got hit with an overhand. Boo.
I've never
this
been
whole
on the
thing
spar
is
mat.
crazy.
Never hurt you down on the spar mat.
He never
You
hurt
ain't got
you?
no chin. Hold up. When a nigga touch you with them 8 ounces, I promise you that smile gonna wipe over your face.
Africa, he
That
never
shit
hurt
get
you?
serious. Who? He never hurt you?
I never been in a fight,
I've never
nigga.
been.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. Hey, gotta admit, Hitchens be really, really confident about what he can do, though. You could see that. You can see that in how he carries himself and how he talks and that type of stuff. But this one here for Keyshawn and Richardson, man, this would be a whole lot of smoke from both guys. You see it right here.
Hurt in my life.
Never been hurt in
Ever
this sport,
16,
ever.
8, none. I've never been dropped.
Never.
I've never been dropped ever in my life. I've never been dropped.
Facts.
He said the same.
Facts.
Ask Keyshawn, have you ever been dropped?
Keyshawn, have you been dropped? Have you been dropped?
I'm leaning around like that. Have you been dropped?
Yeah, I've been dropped.
Okay,
Man.
now he
I've been
now
dropped.
he trying-
I
now
just
he's
got back up.
now he's
Now I'm
exaggerating.
here again.
Okay,
We got a fight in Norfolk.
Okay, but
Okay, show for man.
okay, so we agreed on March. Is the March happening in March
No, I can't
2026?
agree, Mark.
June?
I promise you my life you ain't fucking me up, nigga. Let's do it, nigga. Let's do it, nigga. Let's do it,
Let's
nigga.
go.
Want to
Let's
know,
Let's
folks?
do it.
Let's do this. Scope Arena, Norfolk. Let's go.
Somebody put a hand in
Scope Arena, Norfolk.
Back. You know what I'm out. I know I'm back.
Y'all hear me?
We're gonna make a fight. We're gonna make a fight. You guys sold it.
Yeah.
You guys sold it.
Yeah.
He probably is.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
I promise you my life. Yeah. I swear to my life. I know. I swear to my life. I know.
You
And
shot
a
it.
nigga in the boxing ring. You shot it.
This fight gonna be big. This
shot
fight
it,
gonna
Tim.
be big. It's gonna be real big.
You shot it, Tim. It's your Carhartt. Your Tim's on. You shot it, Tim.
Scope Arena. Let's do it.
I know. I'm a fly nigga. I know. I'm gonna keep thugging it. I'm keep thugging with my sweat
Scope
on,
Arena,
gang.
let's do it. T. Conley, let's make it happen. Scope Arena.
New York, baby. New York.
Oh, come on, Keith. God damn it. Hey, yo, come on, man. Come on, Keith. God damn, man. I'm trying to make this shit happen. What are we doing? Come on, yo. We gotta go back to this shit.
June?
I promise you my life you ain't fucking me up, nigga. Let's do it, nigga. Let's do it, nigga. Let's do it, nigga.
Want to know,
Let's do
folks?
it.
Let's do this. Scope Arena, Norfolk. Let's go.
Somebody put a hand in
Scope Arena, Norfolk.
Back. You know what I'm out. I know I'm back it up.
No, it's good. It's good.
We're gonna make a fight. We're gonna
You
make a
guys
fight.
sold it. You guys sold it.
Yeah.
You guys sold it.
Yeah.
He probably is.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
I promise you my life. Yeah. I swear to my life. I know. I swear to my life. I know.
You
And a nigga in the boxing ring. You shot it,
This
Tim.
fight gonna be big. This
Shot
fight
it,
gonna be
Tim.
big. It's gonna be real big.
You shot it, Tim. It's your Carhartt. Your Tim's on. You shot it, Tim.
Scope Arena. Let's do it.
I know. I'm a fly nigga. I know. I'm gonna keep thugging it. I'm keep thugging with my sweat
Scope
on,
Arena,
gang.
let's do it. T. Conley, let's make it happen. Scope Arena.
New York, baby. New York.
Oh,
You're not tough, nigga.
It's on. It's on.
come on, man. Oh, come on, man. Damn, man. Yo, I tried. Hey, listen, y'all. I tried. I was hyping it. I was trying to push for the fight that happened at Scope Arena, Norfolk, Virginia. You see that Key Conley, manager for Richardson, is right there. I tried to convince him. He was like, nah, it's gonna be in New York. I tried, man. But I obviously failed. Okay. As far as like when the fight could happen, I don't know if it would be in March, maybe in April. And the other thing is too is that there was some buzz of potentially having Keyshawn Davis back in the ring, probably around like February. Okay, and that it could potentially have been another fight there against Nahir Albright. But if you have something like this coming up, I'm sorry, Nahir Albright, but this was, they weren't talking about the whole thing with the press conference. They was talking about this little confrontation. And Topic, shout out to Topic here. He asked the question, who do you think wins, Richardson or Keyshawn Davis? People go get me for this. But right now I'm picking Keyshawn Davis, man. And I told other media members this too. Shout out to Hans Demonstoke, man. I told Hans, and I told Matt Brown of Brunch Boxing. You know, I told Johnny Boy Boxing with Fight Hype. I said, hey man, I'm picking Keyshawn Davis, man. I'm picking him to win. But we still have to have the fight happen. Okay. Like I was saying, I was boosting it up to be over in Norfolk, Scope Arena. But listen, I think even if they had this at the theater at Madison Square Garden, they'll be able to get a higher gate. I can't like necessarily confirm it or whatever it is, but even with this as small as a theater at Madison Square Garden, I think he could get a bigger gate. Even if they had the big room at Madison Square Garden and they were able to block off the top parts there, or some of the sections there within Madison Square Garden. Like for example, if we go back to it, man, because I still have it up there for Ticketmaster, right? So even if they had the whole joint there with let's see, you got the map right here, right? So you see how they had the whole 200 level seating in on the left and the right, right? And then like over there in the corners, so you got like something like sections 216 or whatever it is. So you already had like those 400 level sections or whatnot. They will already be blocked off or whatever it is, right? But you can still have the same type of layout for this thing here for Keyshawn versus Richardson, and you could probably still get some good money off that. No, the ticket prices wouldn't be like this where it's 120 or $130 for like those 220 section seats, but I think they could still get some good numbers for that particular fight. Shout out to Bull Rider here. He says Davis is gonna hug his way to a win. Oh, come on, man. You sure about that? Because some people say that Richardson-Hitchins does that a good amount of times too. So we gotta see, like how this whole thing would kind of like play out. But I think that's a good matchup there within the 140-pound division. I mean, even though, like I was saying with Teofimo Lopez, we're well overdue for having a fight that unifies the titles at 140 pounds. Okay, we had the whole thing as far as like the WBO champion there in Teofimo Lopez, right? You have him. You got like I said, Gary Antoine Russell is WBA champ, right? You got the whole thing there of Richard Hitchens being the IBF champion, right? And we also got to see what's going to be going on with the WBC. Subriel Matias, of course, had this whole thing there with the VADA test, right? And the whole, and the thing about that too is like, yeah, the A sample, it came back positive. And then you had the whole thing with, I don't know if that was Subriel Matias going at Dan Rayfield and Mike Coppinger and the reporters about saying, hey, y'all say what y'all say about the A sample, but wait till the B sample comes back. Well, it seems like coming from early reports that the B sample came back positive as well. The only problem is that with him having a fight against Dalton Smith in New York, the New York State Athletic Commission has their little limitations or things as far as like how much of a certain substance a fighter could have in their system, and if it falls below that threshold, they're still able to fight. And so with Subriel Matias, it falls below that threshold, so we still could have that fight there against Dalton Smith, and that's going to be January 10th at the Barclays Center. Now, just being real with y'all, that particular fight in Barclays, I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, if y'all want to see, like, let me see. I'll pull up the joint here for that fight card, but yeah, this man, y'all remember, y'all, this is going to be at the Barclays Center. Subriel Matias versus Dalton Smith, Alfredo Santiago versus Henry Cedeno, Nestor Bravo versus Pedro Campa, Javier Cintron versus Jonathan Rodriguez, Emmanuel Rodriguez versus Fernando Diaz. Yeah, remember, this is a Fresh Productions fight card. So you're gonna have Emmanuel Rodriguez and the Subriel Matias. Those are like their main guys. You gotta have Keith Colon on there, of course, who's they're from New Jersey, whatever it is. So you do have, a few fighters, that have, Puerto Rican ties and that type of stuff that's going to be involved in this particular fight card. But outside of that, man, I'm like, that's going to be a stretch there as far as like, just being real. I don't know, man. I don't know how many folks are going to show up there at the Barclays Center for this, because those matchups, ooh, yeah, it's tough. But, like I said, we got, what's coming up there on January 31st at Madison Square Garden. Okay. But there was also something else that I had seen here on the docket. I have to go ahead and pull up the joint here through X, or social media there, through Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it, because I had basically shared this here. But you're also going to have Pro Box TV with the fight card that's going to be at Maryland Live. Yeah, it is. I mean, of course. I mean, we've had that for years out there. Puerto Rican Day Parade weekend. You know how that is there. When they had Miguel Cotto having them fights and all that type of stuff. And I thought, they would try to do something there with Xander Zayas, but let's see what happens with Xander Zayas first in his unification bout against Abbas Barral for the WBO and WBA Super Welterweight Championships. If Xander Zayas gets that win, we could see Xander Zayas defend those titles in New York City during Puerto Rican Day Parade weekend. So we'll see. But yeah, there is a decent amount of Puerto Ricans in New York, so we could get some good sales on that, probably through that crowd. But again, you gotta have that type of support though. So I got to look at the whole thing with Subriel Matias. Like, for example, when Subriel Matias defended the title that he did have initially, the IBF title, where he lost it in Puerto Rico, we have to see how that, how many people like attended that. But here with New York City, you could probably get a pretty good crowd. But we'll see how that goes on that front. All right. So, want to see here if I share this thing here. Topic, you probably seen this too. You got this thing here for Pro Box TV, as they say that they are kicking off 2026 with a massive lineup. Pro Box TV returns to Maryland on Friday, January 30th, and we are bringing the heat to the Live Casino and Hotel there in Hanover, Maryland. The card will feature top-tier talent, including Trayvon Marshall, Jordan Roach, David Body Stature Whitmire, Francois Scarborough Jr., Short Dog Jordan White, Suleiman Sagawa, and Ben Johnson. The bouts are coming soon, but the seats will go fast. Secure your spot ringside today. That is Friday, January 30th. And you can watch it live on a ProBox YouTube channel. And yeah, you see the things there. Of course, you're going to have ProBox signee Francois Scarborough Jr. Of course, he had his fight over in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, first round knockout. So he's back at it here on January 31st. You're going to have Short Dog Jordan White. He's going to be back in the ring. You're going to have Suleiman Sagawa back in the ring. They were part of the ProBox card that happened at the Entertainment and Sports Arena, or the Care First Arena, or whatever you want to call it, over in Washington, D.C. You did have Jordan Roach on that card. You've seen that Jordan Roach was on there in San Antonio, Texas. Also, Ben Johnson was there in San Antonio, Texas last weekend. You got the Body Stature David Whitmire, Trayvon Marshall is on that card. So that's at least 7 fighters within this area that's going to be on the card there for ProBox. Right? It says, you said, you were there for the Matias versus Liam Paro joint? Okay, bet. Sold out. All right. So we'll see, if they get a good crowd out there for the Barclays Center. Now, I think they probably would have tickets at a good price anyway. So, hey, if they have a good price for them tickets, then they should be in there. But it's just that, I hadn't really heard that much, PR or pub for that particular fight or the fight card there that's taking place on January 10th. Outside of that news that happened with Super Matias in Nevada, but we'll see. But back on this joint here for ProBox TV. Looks like this is their first upcoming fight card for 2026, and you're going to see a number of fighters within the DMV area that are going to be involved in this card. And given what I've heard, a few weeks ago, a couple weeks ago, we might have even more fighters within the area that'll be involved in this card. If y'all know about a couple of gyms that are here within the DMV area, and you see some of these fighters and where they're coming from, you might see a couple more fighters from those gyms out there that'll be, involved in this particular card, particularly from, at least for me, I'd say the Hillcrest area, but we'll see. Says, who are you looking forward to seeing on the Pro Box card? On this one, everyone, pretty much like everyone. I want to see what's going down with every fighter. Come on, man. I mean, I'm here to support the local fighters here within the DMV area. Y'all know it. You got, these guys, of course, we got to see what, y'all know I got to see what's going to be up with Jordan White here, of course, after what happened in this last fight. Okay. We got to see how he's going to be able to bounce back from that. You did have Suleiman Segal that was on that same card that was able to get a stoppage victory. So I want to see what that means there for Suleiman Segal. If he's still, they're competing at the featherweight division. We all saw, how he had his fight there against Bruce Carrington at the theater at Madison Square Garden, where it was a decision win for Bruce Carrington. But some people thought that Suleiman Segal had a great showing on that. You know what I mean? So we got to see where he's going to be at the particular division, if he's still there at featherweight, because he's still like highly rated in some of these rankings there at featherweight. You got Ben Johnson, of course, has had stoppage victory in every single one of his fights. You're going to see if he's going to continue that particular streak. Of course, you got Jordan Roach there, that's undefeated, had a victory there last weekend at San Antonio. So we got more with that. Body Snatch, Dave Whitmire, Trayvon Marshall, both on the card. Hey, Trayvon was on that Pro Box card too. So we've seen a lot of these fighters that have been in action this year, whether it's been here in this area or outside of that. Scarborough's been very busy this year. What is he? He's had that fight in April. We had the thing there over in September with the Pro Box, and then back at it over in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, a few weeks ago, November 22nd. So we've seen a number of these guys being able to be in position to have fights and be able to be fairly active there in the ring. You know what I'm saying? So I like to see a number of things that happen here with this particular card. And you know what? After I seen this card, I was like, dang it, man. When they dropped this card out this morning, I was like, oh, man. So that means that I'd have to, because I'm going to this, man. I'm supporting the local cards. I'm going to do it here for this one. You know what I'm saying? Hey, my guy BVO in the building. He says, Cleveland in the house. You know what I'm saying? It says, shout out to Jordan Roach. Yep, like I said, he was able to have the decision victory last weekend in San Antonio, Texas there, for that particular thing. And he says, yeah, Ben Johnson is nice too. Yeah, I mean, he's, been, as a highly decorated amateur. Now, coming up here, competing at welterweight. I've seen, what is it? His pro debut, the second pro fight he's had. We had the third fight over in Florida, and the fourth fight, here at the Care First Arena, and then fight number 5, it was there in San Antonio. So we see what's going on. You know what I mean? He said, hey, DC is back. Hey, man. Hey, speaking of that, right? Hey, BVO, you know that we got Jaleel Hackett in the ring tomorrow night. He's in the ring tomorrow night over in California. So he's gonna have that. That's what's going on too. So we do also have that's on the docket, right? Oh, and I also gotta show something here too, right? Because he's seen something that is Jaleel Hackett that he was like really excited about. But yeah, man. Hey, for real. That's why I was saying what I was saying, man. Short dog Jordan White, man. I feel like, he just got it was just a bad night for him in his last bout. You know what I mean? I feel like he did what he did there, and I just felt like when it came to him fighting Renee Tejas there at 135, that was like a really tough joint for him to do there at that particular point of his career. He had been there back and forth as far as like competing at 130 and 135, right? But given that he had the fight against Jose Matias earlier this year over at Maryland Live, and then getting into this one here against Renee Tejas, like I just felt like that was like a bad little situation for him at that time. You know what I mean? So he did have that. So yeah. Sorry, his team hacky. Yeah, of course. I mean, hey, we was hanging out with him over at the Barclays Center. When they had the whole thing with Danny Garcia having his fights out there. So you see what happens with that. But hold on a second. Let me see here if I could do this. So let me just I'm gonna try to get some here real quick though, because like I said, I had something there for Jaleel Hackett. So give me a few seconds here. Y'all might hear me. Hold on, y'all. This thing does some crazy stuff in a sense. But all right, I should be back. Y'all should be able to see me. But let me go through this here real quick. All right. So there you go. And yeah, he does have this already. With the lighting and everything like that. Let me see here. Maybe I could try to use the other camera. So if you see the camera right here, I mean, you kind of like could see it a little bit, maybe not, but you kind of like see we have the card there for Jaleel Major Hackett. Okay. And he's already seen it. He already likes it. And we'll have it available. The Boston source will have the cards available for sale. I do have a number of fighters that, just being real quick, I just do have a lot of fighters from the area that I have produced and stuff like that. I do have one for Sharpshooter Outlaw. I do have one for that. And what else? I did have a lot for like Boots Dennis, Bam Rodriguez, Bruce Carrington, Lamont Rose Jr. He's already seen those, and Keyshawn Davis has already seen his too. But I do have, some of these available for sale. I do have some for as returner available for sale, as well as people have reached out to me for those type of cars. You know what I mean? And yeah, yep, that's right. Jaleel Hackett, yep, the black Mexican right there, Jaleel Hackett. That's what you said. But he will have this fight that is going to be on a pay-per-view thing there tomorrow. Okay, so that y'all look forward to all of that. I want to see something else here too, because there is also some fights that I heard was going to be on YouTube, but then they kind of took it away from YouTube and they're putting them on the zone. So there was supposed to be some fights on IBA Boxing YouTube channel there that's taking place in Dubai tomorrow. It's probably going to be on tomorrow afternoon. Okay. And now it seems like they're putting these fights on the zone. That's crazy. You know what I mean? Let me see here if I'm going to go ahead and share this thing here real quick. Yeah, you're supposed to have Kubrat Pulev versus Marat Gasayev they're on this joint here, man. And they said it was going to be on IBA Boxing YouTube channel. That's what they're saying it was on, right? And then as of like yesterday or something like that, it said that the zone is going to pick it up and that is going to be live on the Zone. I'm like, oh my God. Come on, y'all. Remember, Kubrat Pulev has a WBA heavyweight championship. We know that Alexander Usyk is the WBA super champion, but Kubrat Pulev is holding a world title there in the heavyweight division, and now he's going up against Murat Gasayev, who's rated at number 12 currently in the WBA. This is gonna be crazy. Topic, I'll get this thing here on there, and Quincy at 147 signed to Danny Garcia. I wonder, how good the bro is, man. I gotta see, how that joint's gonna be at. You know what I mean? I'll see, how I kind of like gauge them there for 147. But want to get on this thing here as far as like this fight card. Yeah, this is IBA Pro 13 by the United Arab Emirates Boxing Commission. I didn't even know they had a full-fledged commission, to be honest with y'all. But you're going to have Kubrat Pulev in there against Murat Gasayev. You got like a few other fighters on there, like what is it? Karich and Agarbar. I've kind of heard of that name. I've heard of Ruben Nestor Munoz. I've heard of that name. Okay. You're going to have an IBO welterweight title on there. Maxie Hughes is involved in this fight card. I've heard of Maxie Hughes. And Nico Ali Walsh is on the card. Nico Ali Walsh is on this card. Okay, he's on the card. Okay, all right. I'm gonna stop sharing it. Nico Ali Walsh is on that card. Okay, so, but it's on the Zone. It should have stayed on YouTube, man. Because be real with y'all, it would have much more viewers on YouTube than it's going to be on the Zone. I'm gonna tell you that right now. Okay, all right. And real quick, because I did also see this. Right, you did have the announcement. Claressa Shields versus Franchon Cruz-Zern there, and you're gonna have those belts on the line or whatever it is, right? So I want to see if I could, pull that up as well, right? I want to see if I could get that announcement joint on here, because that I think that was kind of like part of the thing where you had Claressa Shields have that announcement of being able to sign for the multi-million-dollar deal, right? And then, that being said, and it was going to be under Salida, so that kind of like reopened the door for this particular fight to happen or be signed or, agreed to or whatever it is. But, now you got this thing here where, you're going to see there on February 22nd, the undisputed heavyweight championship there between Claressa Shields and Franchon Cruz-Zern. Okay. Now, the thing about it is that you did have a number of things that were said after Claressa Shields had her last fight in Little Caesars Arena in Detroit. Because at that time, Shields had said that she was going to be a free agent. Now, she said that while Franchon Cruz was basically in attendance and had that recent, she was in attendance, Franchon was in attendance, and she had recently signed with, Celia Promotions. So with Claressa Shields making that announcement, that kind of like threw Franchon off big time, because she thought that she could have had the inside track to have the rematch at that time. And then there's like a lot of stuff that was said in, while that was going on before the deal was signed for Claressa Shields or whatever. So we'll see. So Bull Rider Game Farm says social media is saying that Claressa is pregnant. Hey, listen, Claressa Shields was in attendance at that press conference yesterday, because one of the biggest fans of Shakur Stevenson is Claressa Shields. Okay. So with that being said, I would have had the opportunity to speak with Claressa Shields there, but one, I was taking care of some business behind the scenes, so to speak. But two, I was also speaking with Eddie Hearn. Okay, so wasn't able to have a conversation there with Clarissa Shields, but Clarissa was there. Papoose was there. But you could say, hey, hit up what is it? My guy Matt of Brunch Boxing was able to talk with Clarissa Shields there, and she had a number of things that she was saying about this upcoming fight. I will continue to try to follow up with Franchon Cruz Dezern and see what she says about this upcoming fight. They do have a pre-sale code or whatever it is for Clarissa Shields, and you got a Franchon Cruz that has something there for a pre-sale code that she's going to be releasing on her social media. But as far as like the whole thing with Clarissa Shields and a little bit of bump or whatever it is, yeah, I have to see about all that. I have to see about all that. Okay. But this is going to be a real interesting bout here for the Undisputed Heavyweight World Championship. Now, given with this particular bout, what does this mean for super middleweight? Because remember, Franchon Cruz Dezern is a unified champion at super middleweight. Okay. She has 2 of those titles. And the fighter that has the other 2 titles is Shadasia Green. And Shadasia Green, of course, we had a conversation with Shadasia Green, and she wanted to have the fight for Undisputed. She wanted to have that rematch with Franchon Cruz Dezern. But now, since you're having this fight between Franchon and Clarissa Shields, now what's going to be out there for Shadasia Green? We'll see. I think she's gonna, probably have a bout in the interim. There being on Most Valuable Promotions. Next time they have a fight card, she'll probably be involved in it, defend the titles that she has, and then after that, she'll see what's going on with the winner. I think here with Clarissa Shields having her, deal that she was able to get, she's gonna be having these high-profile fights or fights that people are looking, towards her seeing. Or fans looking forward to seeing her fight. You know what I mean? So a rematch for Franchon Cruz, a fight with Shadasia Green, potentially something there with Chris Cyborg. All of those fights are now could be potentially out there because while it was talked about before, I don't think they said that necessarily like the money was there before. Now it pretty much is. So that could bring out those fights being potentially out there for Clarissa Shields here going into 2026. But we got to see what happens here first against Franchon Cruz Dezern, and we got to see if I'm going to be able to have a conversation there with Franchon Cruz here later on down the line. All right, so that's mainly what I had there. 2026 is going to be pretty good. We kind of talked about those fights that are coming up: January 30th, January 31st. February 22nd. I did say the stuff there for January 10th with Subaru Matias. The thing with January 31st, remember, not only do you have that fight card that's going to be at Madison Square Garden, but you do have the unification bout that will happen at 154 pounds between Xander Zayas and Abbas Barao. And you also have over in the UK the IBF Super Welterweight title on the line, as you're going to have Bakr Murtazaliev going up against Josh Kelly. All of that's happening on January 31st, big weekend. It says, well, this is the 4th time fighting Cruz. A couple times there in the amateurs, and then this will be the 2nd time in the pros. But like I was saying, they could have had the fight beforehand. It probably could have happened at super middleweight. But when Clarissa Shields had her fight over in Little Caesars Arena against Lanny Daniels on July 26th, that was a fight that maybe, some people thought would happen before Clarissa Shields announced at the time that she was a free agent. So before she got the new deal, that fight looked like it was going to be in jeopardy. But now, after the new deal, seeing what's going on, seeing what the plan is going to be, now you're going to have this fight happening again. Yeah, a number of people would want to see Shadasia Green be the one to fight Clarissa Shields. So we'll see how that goes. Shout out to Steph here in the building. What's going on here with you? You know what I mean? I said, yeah, January 31st. Yeah, I'm saying, man, all those fights on January 31st. And you know what was crazy is some people thought that we would have another fight card on January 31st that would have involved Jamal Charlo potentially against Caleb Plant. But even when Jamal Charlo was talking to Brian Cusser and saying that, yeah, that could have happened in January 31st, I'm like, nah. Now with all those other fights that are out there. And, as I said, talking with Coach Wayne Shields a couple of weeks ago, he said that if anything, Jamal Charlo is going to be in the ring around March. So we'll see what could happen there on that front. I said, I think that's a good style matchup with the ladies, Clarissa Shields and Franchon Cruz. As long as you don't tell Matt that. Okay, so we'll see how that particular fight shapes up. I mean, we got a couple of months before that takes place. Okay, but I kind of like went through a number of fights again that's coming up this weekend. I'm still kind of disappointed that the thing there with the WBA regular title there with Kubrat Pulev and Murat Gasev, it's not going to be on YouTube. They moved it to the Zone, so you're going to have those fights on the Zone, right? You do also have, and I got to touch on this too. That's going to be on the Zone, and you got another thing that's going to be on the Zone here with Diego Pacheco. They're going up against Kevin Lele Sajo, and the thing with this one, right, is if I'm not mistaken, Diego Pacheco will have his first fight without having Jose Benavidez Sr. in his corner. These guys here, Pacheco at 24-0 with 18 knockouts. Kevin Sajo, they're at 26-0 with 23 knockouts. And some people saw what he did there against, Martin Bulazio or whatever it was. Man, he's been stopping these guys. Okay, he's been having a good little streak, whatever it is, stopping fighters. Has a good knockout streak. He's coming from France. His nickname is the Punisher. Yes, he's 35 years old, but his nickname is the Punisher. And he's there at 5'8" with a reach of 68 in comparison to a fighter in Diego Pacheco that's 6'4". That's right, 6'4" there within that super middleweight division. And remember, Diego Pacheco is kind of like competing there around that top of the WBO rankings or something like that. So this is a big fight for him in order for him to stay in contention to potentially fight for a world title. You know what I mean? They say here like Charlo doesn't ring, like his name doesn't ring like it used to. I mean, because he's like he had his fight against Cornflake. You know what I mean? He had his fight against Cornflake, and now trying to get back in the mix here, particularly in the super middleweight division. It looks like so. We'll see what he could do and what could be next for him. If it's not going to be Caleb Plant, maybe it could be against the guy that beat Caleb Plant there in Jose Resendiz for that WBA interim title at super middleweight. So we'll see. I mean, Jamal Charlo, as of right now, is rated number 3 in the WBA rankings. He's rated number 8 in the WBC rankings, but being that close there, number 3 in the WBA rankings says, hey, you could see him potentially fighting someone like a Jose Resendiz there within super middleweight. Although there will be another interesting bout there, super middleweight for Jamal Charlo, but there's no way that fight's going to happen. It's a cherry pick Cornflake. So I thought this would be a second time fight without seeing because they broke up this time last year. I don't know. I thought that with Diego Pacheco, I thought he was in the corner there when he fought Trevor McCumbee or something like that, but maybe he wasn't. But yeah, I think it was more of a story now there when it comes to Diego Pacheco because you still had this being a higher profile fight there in comparison to fight against Trevor McCumbee. But we'll see. But I think that's going to be a good little matchup there Just going real quick with a number of the matchups that are on slate there on this matchroom card. You got Diego Pacheco versus Kevin Sajo. You got Gabe Flores going up against Joe Cordina in the lightweight division. Gabe Flores has kind of like been up there in the rankings for the WBO in the lightweight division, just hasn't necessarily had himself in position to fight for the world title. But given what he does here against Joe Cordina, there could be a chance that he could be in the mix for a world title shot against newly crowned champion Abdullah Mason. We'll see how that goes. Okay, you're gonna have Sky Nicholson. They're back in going up against Luna Avila. I'm not gonna butcher that first name. That's not gonna happen here today. No. Ernesto Mercado going up against Antonio Moran is going to be also interesting there in the super lightweight division, given comments from Ernesto Mercado saying that he's going to have an eye on that fight that's going to come up here on January 31st between Teofimo Lopez and Shakur Stevenson, because he will want to be in the mix against the winner if he gets this win against Antonio Moran. You got Arturo Popoca on this fight card. Satchery Sam, what kind of, I don't know what name that is, but you kind of like see what the slate is for Saturday. Okay, so that's the thing right there. He said rank just off history, yeah, but we'll see how that goes off that. You know what I mean? It says Diego needs hella rounds. Kind of wish he could make 160, but he's at 168. He's at 6'4", man. Come on. At 6'4", making 160? Nah. Come on, man. There's 3 or 4 fights for him that could make his name win, lose, or draw. What, at 160? I don't know, because look at what's going on 160. We seen what could have happened in 160 here last weekend. We should have had a unification bout, and we didn't have a unification bout. Hey, Zanabek. Okay, here's the thing too with Zanabek, right? Remember, there was at one point when Zanabek had his fight coming up that he was able to make 160 pounds, but it kind of had him struggling to get to 160 pounds. So we'll see how that goes on that. Steph, that tweet by Tank, that was crazy. That's insane. Topic says, Anthony Joshua stopped Jake first round? No, I don't think so. I think it's going to be in the 3rd round. Okay, that's coming up next Friday on Netflix. Jake Paul, Anthony Joshua, next Friday, Netflix. Okay, and the undercard, we'll go over the undercard for that next week on next week's version of the Boxing Source Midweek Report. But yeah, he's dropped out of a fight or two. Yeah, Janabek has, and you know what was crazy about Janabek, right? Even even back in what was that, 2021, when Janabek fought Hassan Ndam, right? At the weigh-in, he was a little bit over 160 at the weigh-in for that fight against Hassan Ndam in 2021. Okay, and he was able to make weight. He got the win, of course, and moved on. But you kind of like seeing the number of these issues here with Janabek, over the course of what's going on, right? So I'm like, man, if you want to go ahead and move up to 168, you might as well just go ahead and 168, man. And topic asks, do we ever get to see Baumgartner versus Meyer too? Nope, we're not. Baumgartner is going to be on that fight card next Friday. But listen, Alicia Baumgartner is there as the super featherweight champion. Say to be undisputed, but she's not going to have the WBC belt there on the line. But she's there at 130, okay? She has been there at 130 pounds for some time. Michaela Mayer right now is at 150 plus pounds. She is the unified super welterweight champion. So you're talking about a fighter that's at super featherweight in comparison to a fighter that's right there at super welterweight. that rematch ain't gonna happen, buddy. It just ain't gonna happen. All right. So that is pretty much what I got. So Ryan and Barrios gonna fight for sure, right? I mean, Barrios has been talking about it. He didn't want to. He didn't want to have no spoilers. I know that Ryan Garcia was talking about February. What was that, like February 24th or something like that? Let me check the calendar. Because he was talking like, hey, they signed it for February 24th or whatever it is. We got to see how that goes. No, not February 24th, but Friday, February 21st. Okay. So we'll see, how that is on that front. Because, when they were talking with Mario Barrios last Saturday, he didn't want to, break all of that. But he did say that he is going to be with Joe Goosen as his trainer there. So it's not going to be, who he had before there in Bob Santos. Okay. So there's that. Said Baumgartner was willing to move up for Shields. I don't know about all that. That DAZN or Amazon. What the Diego Pacheco fight? That fight card is under Matchroom, so that would be on DAZN. Remember the thing for next week, next Friday. You have Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua. Those fights are on Netflix. So everything for this Saturday is going to be on DAZN. Whether it's the Kubrat Pulev fight over in Dubai, or the thing there with Diego Pacheco coming up here against Kevin Lele Sajo over in California. That's going to be in Stockton, California on DAZN. All right. So that's what they got on that. What else is coming up? Yeah, I think that's going to be the feature thing there. You got what's coming up on Saturday. Then you got the fights on Netflix next week. I got to see if ProBox does have something else coming up that's supposed to be this week. So let me see here if I could find that thing there for ProBox, because not this week, but they should have another fight card before the end of the year, right? That's December 18th. You're gonna have the thing there with Ramon Cardenas headlining that fight card on December 18th on ProBox. So they'll have ProBox December 18th, and then they get back at it here for January 30th at the Maryland Live Casino and Hotel. So that's what we got on slate. For the network. Woo. Good question. Now think about it. Barrios is a WBC welterweight champion. Ryan Garcia is Ryan Garcia. You know what? It might end up being a deal where whatever network has, the wins a bid or something like that internally, they get to broadcast it in the US, and the other one gets to broadcast it elsewhere. Like how they had the thing there with Tank Davis and Ryan Garcia. So we'll see. That's a good one. What is it? Super bantamweight with Naoya Inoue. Nobody cares. You talking about that Ring 5 that's coming up? That's supposed to be December 27th. There with Naoya Inoue having his defense of those undisputed 122 pound titles. There going up against David Allen Picasso. So Picasso, had been waiting for a world title shot. Now he's gotten it. It's going to be in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia for Ring 5 now to the Samurai. And, hardly anybody is, I don't think anybody is really picking Picasso to win this fight. Y'all don't even want to see the odds for this fight. That's going to be crazy. It's an Amazon because they want to promote him heavy. Hey, listen, it's almost like, they're trying to do, get something with Barrios and try to pick him off for that WBC belt or whatever it is. But, we see what happened there against Manny Pacquiao. And now he's going to be going up against Ryan Garcia. So that's like two big fights for him back to back as far as like, attention and everything like that. But, we'll see. I think I don't think it's going to go that people may think it's going to go. I think, and even with Mario Barrios now having Joe Goosen as a trainer. Remember, Joe Goosen used to be the trainer for Ryan Garcia too. So we'll see, man. But that's a lot here. That I was able to cover here for this particular edition of the Midweek Report. Biggest for everyone that's listening live. Shout out to those that'll be watching the replay and everything like that. We're gonna be back at it here with the Boston Source podcast for Sunday night. Okay, and I'll be working on a few things here and there as far as like getting more interviews. I think within the area, particularly with the recent announcement of the Pro Box card that's going to be happening at Maryland Live on January 30th. So it's going to be a busy weekend at the end of January. If you're going to have fights for Pro Box at Maryland Live, and then the 3 fight cards that I mentioned there for January 31st. So it's going to be a lot to kind of like cover there. But, just stick here with the Boston Source here, whether it's on YouTube, Rumble, or whatever it is. Okay. Hit the notification bell for YouTube just to know like any time that we upload something and you'll be able to see it. All right. And yeah, that being said, y'all, I'll catch y'all later, y'all. Peace out.